Good morning, everybody. It is 9 a.m. in Las Vegas. It's noon in New York City. It is, I think, 7 p.m. in Romania. It's probably some other time where you are. Thank you for being with us. This is Momentum, episode 17, our Builder podcast. We'll talk about a few things, including what's going on in the world, including what's going on in Vegas, including what's going on at the headquarters with the upcoming mainnet upgrade. But first, hello, Robert. And also, today is a very special day. Robert, I don't even know if you know, but we'll talk about that as well. How are you?
All good, all good, all good. Thank you. Just fighting the agents left and right and then trying to build something good, something autonomous, something with auto research and everything included. So that's um, that's what I am up for in the last few days or few weeks.
Do you know why today is a special day? I forgot to tell you in the pre-show.
Oh, I get it. It's a birthday. It's
Happy
the
birthday.
actual birthday of the MultiversX protocol.
Exactly. I mean, I guess we it's interesting because we had an upgrade today on the mainnet as well. So
Yeah.
and obviously the biggest one is coming up as well. Maybe just a minute of reminiscing before we jump into it. Yeah, I don't know. How do you find the journey? And again, maybe one more time, take us to the engine rooms and from the very beginning and the mainnet launch. How was that for you? And how do you feel about the journey until today? Because a lot of things have happened for sure.
Oh yes. It was initially a really really small team pushing ahead. Then when I think after like 1.5 years of hardcore development, we got the confirmation for the Binance Launchpad. That was a big insane moment, and at that time we was the moment when we first had to open source our code, and that was like a interesting and strange feeling because we were internally thinking that right now everybody will look into our code and will say that we are not good or stuff like that, but the code was actually fine, so and much more prepared than most of the others in that same period. Then it got like after the Binance Launchpad, we had like 1 more year until the actual mainnet launch, 1 year and a few months. That was insanely intensive, especially the battle of nodes at that time, crashing 150 times, and then figuring out every day why it crashed, what to fix, what to do. Um, and the funny thing is that once you think that okay, you have a mainnet launch, you can a little bit relax, and let's say development gets slower. No, it didn't. It's just got faster and much more intensive, and then we are still pushing ahead up to this year. It's been like the 8th year of development, and then now we have with the Supernova. Last year, when it comes to like development, releasing packages, releasing code, it was, let's say, the most amount of releases done ever in 2025 in terms of features. Then this year it was more about Andromeda was launched first, and then after that it was more about like security and using all the tools and all the agents everywhere, which like um, uh, focusing on hardening the code, making the decisions, where to put code in, how to make the code look better, and also to perform better. And then right now we are preparing for the last few weeks before Supernova, and then it is all the tools we can get to self audit everything again and again and again. And also, we are welcoming all the white hats who are sending us their findings. And then it takes some time to respond to those and to verify everything in details. Yeah, it's not the word what the agentic or the Frontiers Labs would say said it would look like in 2026. It's quite the opposite. I think that software developers are having more jobs to do. So not less, but that's like the overall feeling in the office. We are still in the trenches pushing every day.
What you mentioned things that are somewhat parallels, right? Like taking a long time to actually get the upgrade out, the battle of nodes. Like there must be a lot of parallels that you see from sort of the mainnet launch to now the largest launch since mainnet, which is Supernova. Um, how different is the world? You mentioned some of these things, but how different is the world that you're coding in today versus 8 years ago, 7 years ago? And how differently do you approach it, or has the approach sort of not changed?
The approach in like coding did not change. We have much better processes in what it means to get a release done, and much better decisions in what kind of features do we get in, do get out, how to test it, how to prove that things are working. I think that what the biggest change is with the agentic world, the AI, as right now, like let's say back in 2020, 2021, you would need to be a really good software engineer, a really good hacker, which would go into the code and analyze and make tests and understand. And after like 4 6 weeks of work, you might have found a bug and you might have exploited it, or you would have tried some kind of fuzzers, and if you were lucky, it would have find a bug and show it out. Now, when you have all these agents at the disposal of the like anybody can use it, you don't have to become, you don't have to look specifically in the code. You are just, as a hacker, you are just trying to prompt the agents in all kinds of ways to exploit something. You might run some kind of static checkers first, and because of those static checkers, they have flagged something. You will then try to, let's say, go into deeper into that section with an agent and make some exploratory calls, and then we have to do actually the same thing, but at a much faster pace and releasing the code before anybody attacks the system or sort of things. And
What's
like Battle of Nodes showed how cool it is to have this kind of white hat hacking by the community, because everybody is thinking a little bit differently, prompting a little bit differently, using the systems a little bit differently. And because of this, the LLMs are taking a little bit of different routes. And it is magically, sometimes they get the same result. Multiple people can get the same results, but there are some outliers, and then some other aspects of the code is verified. That's why I think since March we have launched like 6 or 7 mainnet upgrades, and if we find other things to do, we will release that soon.
I
We will code and release more things.
one thing I was wondering as you were talking about the LLMs and other people kind of jumping into the fray, when you started Elrond and when Elrond launched, right, it was a different world and it was very exclusive, let's say, who could contribute in different ways. You needed to be a hardcore developer, like the people that found things in the Battle of Nodes, in 2020 were very different people than the ones that participated, or some of them were very different people than the ones that participated in 2026. Now, I've contributed to like the documentation of Elrond and MultiversX now, and my code understanding is, let's say, limited. um, but I'm just wondering if this actually also opens up a very different way of collaborating on great code or systems like decentralized systems in particular, where these tools now really open up these worlds for people that previously were on the sidelines, had great ideas or cool functions or something that they wanted to see in the network, and now can actually even build a prototype or build something that works or almost works, give it to the developers, and then say, and the developers are like, okay, cool, this is great, we still need to like harden it, check it, whatever, but that is a great extension for the code that we have. And that's just a very different world where you can contribute, or where more people can contribute to this decentralized project. So I wonder if you ever thought about that, or if that's something that you see happening more frequently, because I think that that could be a very interesting sort of yeah, I don't know, step change, 2020 launching something versus 2026, where so many more people can participate.
I think it is a yes and no question, sadly, because of the market and how it is, and because of like one of the big things uh, which the crypto blockchain world did not really make good is that it remained almost at the same security principles as in 2017. Like, sorry to call it out, and probably there are a lot of people in Vegas about Ethereum and EVM, but even in 2017, auditors were calling out that ERC20 tokens and EVM and approve and transfer from and all those things, or the multi-sigs, or the delegate call with upgrade functions, upgrading a smart contract with delegation and proxy, or not having very well-defined Met libraries at the base level of the EVM. And all those things were already like mentioned in 2017. That's almost like 10 years ago. It's 9 years ago. And there has been almost no change in regards to that. And when we look at this year, in the like in terms of hacks, it was an awful year for blockchain. So people can say anything they want, but when a normal people or a normal developer in a world with the AI goes there and sees that over 1 billion was lost in a few months, and that over like 200 incidents happened all over the system, mostly in bridges and in EVM contracts, definitely you get a sort of feelings that not so many new people are coming in. Like back before the AI era, people were like, because the crypto market was booming, there were much more ideas, much more well-defined ideas, and then the people would work a lot on the idea because you would get funding on the idea and not the product, because it would take 6 months, 1 year to really develop a cool application or a cool everything around it. Right now, like, you cannot really give any kind of funding to an idea because of the agentic world, and you need an idea plus the product together. But people are like figuring out that getting into production, it's like a full-time job. It's not like you can vibe code something which gets super, like, you make your bread and butter out of it. Twitter might seem to say so. People buy the biggest and newest and whatever cloud usage, $200, whatever, and then they start to prompt things, and then they get a new website, and after that, in the background, nothing is linked, nothing is actually happening because everything is mocked, and then they get frustrated and they get out. So I don't see so many new people coming actually to crypto, and that's like I should be bullish, but that's the reality in these regards. And then even in the application side of the markets, I don't really see new things happening. People are still figuring out what to do with the agents. So maybe 2027 will be a game changer again in these regards when people are getting used to the new technology and there are not so many more bugs or hacks in the systems like in the blockchain space, and then we can get a new boom. That's something I am looking forward. Again, like as a crypto blockchain market, whatever the situation it is out there, you have to look really inwards and see what is it that we did wrong as the industry, that not so many things are happening, or we are not even closer to the dreams of the decentralized permissionless composable world where everybody can develop everything. Why isn't that world happening? And to be fair, one of the things is security. And sorry to say it out loud, a lot of the other protocols didn't make a thing in security. They were always saying, like Ethereum was saying, that it is the job of the wallets, it is the job of I don't know whom. Nobody took it seriously, and then we have all those hacks, and nobody wants to do anything anymore.
Billions later, yeah. um Ending that on a positive, like the anniversary note, let's do just a quick, maybe your favorite memory from the past 6 years, and then one thing that you look forward to in the next few years.
Wow, I think there were a lot of favorite things. Um, One of my favorite things was when I was seeing the community and the people starting to build cool things and then coming together, and then you had this kind of vibe on the chain of new and new things happening over and over again. And that, I think it was in 2022 before the Meyer exchange launch. I liked a lot that like the whole NFT community like got that was so natural, and it was so about the community and people building. And then we should have had like sessions like those. I am like against all the things people are saying. I am happy that we didn't get into a. Although I am wearing a Boba shirt, I am quite happy that we didn't get into the frenzy of the meme coins like Solana did, because people are like, let's say, some of the people would say that okay, but the price of the EGRD would be higher or something like that. But the meme coin market actually means thousands of people losing all of their money on crypto. So I am quite happy that we didn't get into that. Sadly, not sadly, but leverage things is getting out of hand, like in South Korea right now, and not even with meme coins, but with AI stocks, and people are getting burned like in the real stock market. And then when you bring that kind of frenzy, into an even crazier market. Um, it is getting bad. What I like although about the meme coins is really those ones which built up a community, and then they had a few people who were creating content and fun things and speaking to each other and having all this sort of crazy ideas around that. Memes is not necessarily about the monetarily value, but about the social value of it. So that's let's say one of my 2 cents on this, and I'm quite happy that, let's say, not a lot of people start burned all their funds in some kind of gambling scenarios. Still a little bit too much in AI, in blockchain is about gambling, and again, the Robin Hood new, I don't know, L3, L2, whatever you have to call
True. I
it.
know it's on Arbitrum, yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a centralized server doing something and making a zip, and then sending the hash of the zip to the Arbitrum, which sends down to the Ethereum. So it's like, yeah. And again, trading meme coins.
So, I one thing that I also noticed, I think, at conferences, I'm at a conference right now in Vegas, and I think one thing, or more so, also over the past few months, somehow, I think a lot of people long for these like NFT and community times, because right now, a lot of what the space has become is more of this like, oh, institutionals are coming on chain and all of this stuff, and we can maybe talk about that briefly after this segment also. But I think this idea that blockchain in some fundamental ways was about people doing something together across the world and like sort of contributing and building something that I think has been lost in the current status quo when the big JP Morgans, et cetera, are coming in. That's obviously not necessarily going to be about community anymore, or a very different version of it. So I think that's definitely a longing that I've been seeing return. And I think that's also a good bet in some ways, where NFT communities, meme coin communities, or whatever, that have had staying power can really also return and also move the needle a little bit. So I do think that is still a very big part of the actual original culture of blockchain. But closing
Yeah,
out the
just
MBX
good
anniversary.
news.
Okay, go for it.
No, no, good news on this. I think that like this whole kind of AI world, if we take out OpenAI and Anthropic and their stupid fetish around controlling the world with their own models, like crying out for Trump to stop everybody else on developing the frontier AI, so that they can only do it. Sorry to call it out like this, but the AI world like showed how wonderful is the open source again. It is full of open source, people sharing, people caring, people showing out what they are doing, creating tons of GitHub repositories which you can verify, build, and everything. That's you see a real sense of community, and then you have so many people on forums and Reddits and everywhere. You just post a question and you get 5 answers instantly, and some of them are not even from AI. Uh, or even if it's from AI, it's from an AI who has memory about how to do stuff, and that's cool. And I think that uh, this kind of sense will get, definitely it will get back to blockchain, because people will start to monetize what they build, the cool things, their own agents, their own things. And the best way to monetize it is in a permissionless scalable blockchain world with finality and like composability. So I think that there will be a trigger point at some point, at when people will deploy their agents, which are going to communicate through the blockchain, and then you will have the new wave of this kind of freedom technology in the blockchain, outside of the regulatory and all kinds of framework. It will be only about like this feeling of permissionless building.
And so your vision there, the vision for MVX for the next, 6 years, it's been six, it'll be another six. Um, where do you see, like, what's your hope for maybe the next year coming with Supernova and yeah, your birthday wish to MVX for the upcoming period, let's say.
The birthday wish is a new all-time high, so let's be honest about it. That's the birthday wish. So I want to see people coming back to blockchain, enjoying it, community building stuff, people deploying their agents, people deploying more things on exchanges, much more kind of uh, transactioning and everything going on and on and on the chain. So I definitely want to see that happen.
Okay, good. I saw people are angry at us for not talking and answering their questions right away. They will be answered. We read them, and then we get to them if they fit into the program. We can't make the program about every chatter that's out there, but because we talked about Supernova, and I think it's a natural transition to just go there. Again, this is a technical podcast, so Robert will tell us some technical things now when I ask him what today's upgrade was about, and then we'll also get to the um, roadmap towards Supernova, because we're now 6 weeks out from launch, more or less. So, Robert, today the upgrade, another mainnet upgrade. I think it's been number 6 or something in the past few months after the Battle of Nodes. What was that about? What are you guys working on currently in the engineering rooms? And yeah, where do you guys stand in terms of Supernova readiness today?
So today's post was about like we got a few more emails from a white hat, like around 2 weeks ago with some findings, and then we fixed those and then released those today. They were mostly about gas usage on the level of the VM and some extra hardening when it comes to verification of what kind of public functions one smart contract can has. So these were like the two major features released. It's a feature flag and only a VM upgrade in that sense. Again, shout out again for the white hat. I know I haven't responded to the mail yet, but he will get it back soon. Just we had to finish the whole release procedures. So that was mostly about. When it comes to Supernova, like again, code is 99% ready, but this kind of 1% not readiness in the agentic world means sometimes weeks of work. What we see about the agents is that they are good on finding the bugs, not necessarily good on suggesting the solution for fixing it. So you can't really have auto auto loops in that system in that sense. And in order to make like in order to make Supernova in such a way that we developers sleep well and we don't have to have all our alerts at maximum sound when we are sleeping, we are adding a lot of extra verifications formal verifications, TLAs, mathematical correctness verifications all over the code. And then we are running agents against those invariants and trying to mathematically and programmatically prove actually that the code is correct. So it's a little bit science fiction sometimes, but like I'm excited about this. And again, what we do or what I do in the background to help all this work to make it much more faster is building our own multi-agent audit system, which gets in all the technologies and some research papers as well, and then implements it, and then it goes over and over and over and over millions of times and tries out every kind of combination possible. And then it has also auto research loops by Karpati so that it improves its own agents around finding more and more bugs or finding more and more performance enhancements, because we found a big set of enhancements when it comes to the three peer-to-peer consensus message signings, some optimizations on the cryptography, preparing messages. So it's an ongoing work around it's an ongoing work around making Supernova like the best possible code ever.
When you are you a graph engineer or are you a loop engineer?
Oh man, it's like I don't understand how this Twitter works. The same kind of idea resuscitated 50 times, like the same titles. A cloud engineer launched this, showed me this kind of GitHub repo, and same thing over and over. I think that like it is so obvious that you are designing loops, decision trees, and the decision trees you are looping in all kinds of ways, and you are creating actually a graph. That's like obvious. It's not like for me as a software engineer. I was having like graphs and loops and evals and making everything back and reinforcement learning on my own loops since January. So for me, it was like nothing, not something new. What's happening is that the labs in their toolings are actually building these kind of systems so that you don't have to know about those, but they do it for you. Sometimes they do good things, otherwise other things are not. So let's say one of the things that Gemini is not doing good is they have the slash team review where they should do these kinds of agent swarms, and they sometimes, not sometimes, like around 30% of the time they go into some infinite cycles and they consume all your quota in like minutes. But Kimi is like one of the Kimi K3 when it comes to agent swarms. I think that's like the best in that regard. But it's a much slower type of work with that.
But bringing that back to MVX and the way that you're changing sort of the engineering cycles around AI reviews and with these new contributors, is this something where basically what you described you're setting up is like a 24/7 monitoring system where it's local agents, or is it cloud agents, or how does it work, that are looking at the code and the network health and all of these things? How do you engineer these systems and what exactly are they doing?
So the cool thing about is that even if you have local or cloud agents, everybody is using the OpenAI standard of calling agents. So you can have an underlying class or an underlying object which actually handles what he is calling, and there you can even have an orchestrator.
Hmm.
That's how I set it up. I have an orchestrator which, depending on what kind of config I am giving to it, it can call Gemini, OpenRouter, NVIDIA, or the local models. I am using a MacBook Pro from the M1 Max version. So it has like 64 gigabytes of RAM, and with the new MLX and some improvements over the top of the MLX, you can even get like 50, 60 tokens per second easily in like a Qwen 3.6 model or a Gemma model. That's more than enough for auto research continuous loops on your own system. So I am using that, or I am actually using um, the free quotas there are from open routers on the free endpoints for NVIDIA, um, NVIDIA Laguna, or the other models they have. I am trying out various models to see what is working. One thing with auditing agents is that if you throw it to, for example, to with a cloud key, they will not necessarily respond because they will say they cannot do security things. I haven't tried it with ChatGPT key yet, but that's one of the things. The idea is that when building such a systems, you want to make it LLM independent, and then the LLM is actually an addition on how you set it up the things from a config file, so you can choose later, or let's say you have a $500 or a $100 credit on Kimi K3, and then you run it for one day on that to find more things. Otherwise, you are running with your local models or stuff like that. That's one of the things you can do it.
Yeah, we mentioned this before the show, right before we went in here. Like, you don't really see a big difference between models other than, I think you said, speed, right? Like, so whether it's your local LLM or like an open source one versus like a frontier one, they all do pretty much the same because of the way you set them up, as in they have specifications, they know exactly what they're supposed to do, they hand off at the right moment, they give it to the next instance, and therefore you don't need these smart models that do everything in one prompt, but you just go, they just go along the guidelines that you set up, and that's really sort of the 10x thing, where you can take any model because the instructions are so clear that these models will just execute along the guidelines. Is that more or less correct?
Yeah, that's what I do, and but this was a long process on reaching this because you start to work with your own skills and agents and whatever loops and things you are finding, and then you are, let's say, I started to use Gemini mostly since January or December, and then every 2 or 3 weeks I accumulate all the telemetry which I had from those agents, and then through an orchestrator or an auto research module, I try to improve all my loops or all my things. So that's a sort of work where you are trying to make the agents and everything learn with what you have. When the code base gets bigger, like, and in any kind of production code, the code base is big. uh, Harnessing and context management gets is the key to make continuous months of or weeks of work where you can actually select whatever agent you want to do the work, because you know that the new agent will not destroy what the previous ones worked. Yeah, they are outliers. Like when Gemini 3.6 Flash got out, it is so much focused on finishing the job with the less amount of tokens that it is not finishing the job actually. So I am not using that. But that's for 2-3 weeks until Gemini fixes it, and then you will get to be able to use it. So it's sometimes this happens. But only when there are no outliers, then you are building your own system in this regards. And then after a few months, right now I have like a 3-layered memory system, which is as the CPU has layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3 cache. And I have that. I have an Obsidian uh, with a second brain. I am like all the code and everything is, I have a knowledge graph built for that, and then embeddings with ROG and some tools which the agents can call those tools, so they can, like, in microseconds they find the all the way that, let's say they are working in a function, optimizing down the function, and that function is used by 10, 100 ways. And the problem is that if the agent doesn't have the right context, it tries to fix an issue and it throws out 99 other things, which will not work, and then you go into infinite cycles. So when you build up a knowledge graph about your own code, then when you are giving the job to the agent, you are giving the context and everything in a way that it understands.
How do you coordinate this inside of the team? You have your sort of knowledge graph, Radu has his, Adi has his, or do you have sort of like an MVX, I don't know, context or knowledge graph or shared?
Everybody right now has its own, because everybody is using like different systems.
Yeah.
And we are not yet synchronizing these things. What we synchronize is the skills. So when we figure out that, let's say we are using some Go engineers or Go orchestrators as code, and then we figure out, okay, we need MultiversX variants for it, and then after a few weeks of working with a set of agents, you figure out how to optimize a set of the instruction set they use, and then you do that, and then you share that skill with the other guys, and everybody starts to use that. That's one of the things we are doing. But again, a lot of the code is written at the protocol level still manually, because the agents are finding the issues, but sometimes not really fixing it properly, like for the bugs. When it comes to new features, you can give it out to the agents, and then mostly they are fine.
Yeah. Yeah, quite interesting. Well, that was a lot on our special interests of AI and recursive loops and all of that, reinforcement learning. I think that's very interesting. So we have, let's say, 10 minutes. We don't want to take too long. What other stuff was on your mind? I think we have obviously some very interesting new developments with Xportal. IBANs are coming, premium cards are coming, things that a lot of people have asked for a long time. I did see some, let's say, speculation by the official accounts that this is also coming to the US at some point. Now, there is regulation on the table in the US right now with the Clarity Act that initially looked like it was going to pass. Now it still hasn't moved, and if that doesn't move, then like in the next week, essentially, then it's probably not going to move this year at all. The conference I'm at, which is Rare Evo in Las Vegas, has some really interesting people, including politicians in general. It's been a much more policy focused than, let's say, consumer DeFi, whatever focused conference. And I think there's been, yeah, interesting takes on one, how these states start using the technology, which I think is something that you and I do like, from this decentralized, like in government, like making processes more transparent, making them more fair, making them more participatory. This is something that the Secretary of State of Nevada was here talking about it, and how he intends to use it, and also to make government more efficient. Let's say, I think he mentioned a contract. Every wire that Nevada, the state of Nevada, wires to anyone, um, what was it, JP Morgan, I don't know, some payment provider takes 3% of it. And he's like, we don't want to pay 3% of every transaction we make. And these are, in the hundreds of millions, obviously. And so if we can make that more efficient, we can give the millions of dollars in savings back to the taxpayers. And I think that's very cool that the Secretary of State has that sort of awareness, and was talking about, yeah, more democratic, sort of direct initiatives that you can also route through blockchain. So there's some interesting things happening. Mika, we could talk about for its own podcast. The implementation has come. Almost nobody really implemented it. There's no clear process on how to implement it. So, what's your take on the general? Since we were talking about the 6 years of MVX, 6 years of MVX also means, in 2020, there was literally nothing. People were making things up as they were going. Now, 6 years later, the landscape has really matured, or changed anyway. What do you see right now, in the regulatory landscape? What's your hope for that to change? How do you feel about the European and US and also Asian, etc., regulations that are coming?
I haven't really followed the US or the Asian versions. I followed here in the European ones, and then I am not a Europe hater. Just so those who comment that, I'm not a Europe hater, but definitely when it comes to regulations, Europe is in the wrong foot. Uh, like Mika, from my perspective, is not successful at all. It just killed hundreds of companies. It's just made the whole crypto ecosystem crumble inside of Europe. It made startups who want to go into the crypto world to pay more taxes, and not only taxes, but pay more for regulations, for lawyers, for things which are effectively non-essential when it comes to making everything on chain permissionlessly, nicely, cleanly by smart contracts, for example. So that's one of the take I have. And then again, you have a regulation, a MiCA regulation signed, let's say 2 years ago, which has a deadline. It was 1 month ago, and a lot of countries were not even prepared to have offices which would give out whether something is MiCA regulated or not. If you look around Europe, there are more countries that did not give out any MiCA regulation, any MiCA certificates,
Licenses,
than
yeah.
they are those who were. And again, we have seen that a lot of these were political. Some of the countries, they didn't want to give out uh, just because, and then that's a big issue in this kind of regulatory framework. It's not like mathematics, 1 + 1 = 2. Sometimes even if you do all the rules and everything according to the standard, somebody comes and makes a sort of complaint, and then you will have to wait months again, and then you don't have the office which verifies whether that claim is good or not, and all sort of things. So it can go in like an infinite cycle. um, and again, for me, it was a false hope around of the people that let's wait for regulations, for things to happen on the chains and new all-time highs and stuff. I think that blockchain should be more about people, community, building stuff, awesome applications. And it was always about people, like it was always about like these small people building up from the down upwards. It was not it was never about waiting for somebody could to give permissions whether you can build something or not. And then I think this killed a lot of the enthusiasm and everything else. Because right now, for example, if you are in Europe and you are thinking about doing something on blockchain, the first question, okay, how do I do this MiCA regulated? And then you have to go to X, Y, Z lawyer and all the process, and they will start, okay, to start this process, it costs 50,000 euros, just like this.
Yeah. The cost to play, I think, is huge, right? There is not a sort of grace period anymore where it's like, oh, you try something, if it kind of takes hold, then you apply for a license, and if you once you have the revenue, you sort of like go to the authorities with the paperwork that you need. But it's all no upfront. You need to pay 100K. Nobody has that. Okay, nobody's going to build in this space, and that's fatal, right? If you're trying to foster innovation, this is just not going to work. And that's a place where Europe has, I think, historically in the past few decades shot itself in the foot, especially compared to other markets. We don't need to talk about China, but certainly the US or other markets where it's just much easier and much faster to build a business. And therefore, you also have the liquidity and the appetite for investment, because that comes with regulations that allow for experimentation. And I think if that's something they're trying to kill with this regulation, that it seems like they're doing a fairly good job. So yeah, maybe some closing thoughts. We mentioned Supernova. It's now becoming quite concrete, right? September 10, I think that's like what, 42 days or something. It's getting into countdown territory, let's say.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
what
You
when
use you use the word you shouldn't use, but it's fine.
when the C word, yeah. When should people expect the definite upgrade? Is there anything that projects can prepare for today? How should people think about their releases? What should they expect in the next 5-6 weeks?
Like if you have seen, X Exchange has prepared for the full release before Supernova. So they have prepared all the, like they made all the updates already on all the contracts. So it will be ready for Supernova. And that kind of code was deployed everywhere from testnet, devnet, mainnet, especially because some other contracts are using the safe prices and the algorithms from that. And that was a mandatory upgrade, so people can sort of use it, start to use it. And I made it backward forward compatible, so no issues on that. I think that people have to try on testnet right now to make their upgrades, their sequence, their everything, to see if they have any kind of issues with timing, because the only change for people and contracts is about if they have calculation based on block rounds and seconds per day or stuff like that. If they are using the millisecond opcode from the VM and they don't have issues with receiving less than, not the constant 600 milliseconds there, but 6000 milliseconds, but a smaller number, like 600 milliseconds, or when it gets into the variable phase, they don't have anything to do in regards to deployment of any contract. But again, it would be super nice to have from every community and every builder before Supernova launch the fact that their code is upgraded, and then everybody is waiting for like the new reborn of MultiversX with the new code. That will be a fun thing.
Should be a fun countdown. Will you start it or should somebody else?
I am not the countdown guy, so
There's other people in charge. Thank you, Robert. Also, shout out to everybody who tuned in. I just saw my friend Steven. Steven, we're on the same time in the same time zone. Reach out. I don't know if I'll make it to San Francisco, but thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks, Robert, for taking the time to explain all of your loops to us, letting us into your head, and then giving us some some information on how to expect and prepare for Supernova. Yeah, it will continue to be very exciting. A lot of sprinting to be done, I think, in the next few weeks, and then we'll have something that feels really completely different. If you want to go on testnet right now, actually, I'll show this. It's something where you can actually see how quick this network is. I built this little arcade, supernova arcade.xyz. You can play some games and see how these transactions actually settle cross-chain, cross-shard, or even just intra-shard. It's very fast and feels so fast that you can actually play real games on it without delay. So if you want the Supernova experience, that's something. There's probably also a few more things that I'll try to push out before Supernova that make it fun to interact with it. Yeah. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you in a month from now, very close to Supernova at that point, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.
thanks.